So you ever look at a kitchen and just know it was done by a pro? But what's the secret? I'll tell you, it's not about fancy, expensive tools. It's about having the right playbook. And today, we're going to open that playbook and dive into all the secrets for a totally perfect cabinet installation.
I mean, just look at this. On the left, that's what a lot of us end up with, right? The gaps are a little off, the doors don't quite line up, it's close but not quite there. But on the right, that's the professional finish. We're talking clean lines, perfect seams, and just rock solid. It's all in the details, and believe me, we are going to unpack every single one of them.
So, what's the big secret then? Is there some magic tool you gotta buy? Nope, not at all. It really just comes down to a series of simple checks, some really careful prep work, and a few insider tricks that, honestly, anyone can master. This right here is your guide to getting that high-end professional look.
And it all kicks off right here, with the foundation. You know, the pros will tell you that hanging the cabinet on the wall, that's actually the easy part. The real work, the stuff that guarantees success, is all in the prep.
Okay, let's talk tools. Here's your essential list. And look, there's nothing too crazy here, right? We've got a tape measure, a drill, some clamps, but I gotta tell you, there are two tools on this list that are the absolute heroes of this whole story. Let's zoom in on those. First up, the level. This thing is your best friend. It's your guide to absolute perfection. It's gonna make sure everything is perfectly horizontal, level, and perfectly vertical, which in the biz we call plumb. Trust me, this simple little tool is your #1 defense against a crooked, amateur-looking job.
And here's its partner in crime, the stud finder. Think about it. A heavy kitchen cabinet, packed with dishes. You need to anchor that to the solid wood frame inside your walls, not just the drywall. So finding those studs and screwing directly into them, that's not a friendly suggestion. It is a non-negotiable safety rule.
But hey, what if you don't have a stud finder? No worries, here's a great pro tip for you. Just grab a flashlight and shine it right along the wall at a super sharp angle. A lot of the time you can actually see these tiny little dimples or faint outlines where the drywall was originally screwed to the studs. It's a fantastic low-tech trick that works surprisingly well. Okay, so once you've got your studs marked, it is time to draw your layout lines. And pros always work to standard measurements. For your base cabinets, you're going to measure 34.5 inches up from the highest point of the floor. And for the wall cabinets, the standard is to leave about 18 inches of space above where your countertop will be. Grab that level again, draw those lines perfectly straight. This is basically your blueprint for the whole project.
All right, one last prep step, and this one is a really big deal for safety. First, clear your workspace completely. Then, take the doors off the cabinet and pull out all the adjustable shelves. Why bother? Well, 2 reasons. It makes the cabinet way lighter and so much easier to handle. And second, it protects those delicate door hinges from getting all bent up or damaged while you're trying to hoist it into place.
Okay, prep work is done. Now for the main event. It is time to get this cabinet up on the wall. And we're going to do it with perfect precision.
So even with the doors off, these things can be pretty awkward and heavy. So here is the safe way to lift it. Please don't try to lift it all the way from the floor to the wall in one go. Instead, put a sturdy chair or some kind of support brace just below your layout line. Lift the cabinet onto that first. Then you only have to lift it the last few inches into its final spot. This is going to save your back and it gives you so much more control.
Now here's how we solve a really common problem. Your walls, they're almost never perfectly flat. And if you just screw a cabinet onto a wavy wall, the cabinet itself is going to get warped. The pro solution is super simple. Shims. They're just these thin little tapered pieces of wood. You just slide them into any gaps behind the cabinet until that bubble on your level is sitting perfectly in the middle. Perfect.
And let me show you why that precision matters so much. The acceptable wiggle room for being off level, it's tiny, like almost 0. Anything more than that and our eyes just pick up on it immediately. It just looks wrong. So keep that level in your hand at all times and trust what it's telling you.
So once it's in position and all shimmed up, it's time to lock it in place. First, and this part is absolutely key, drill small pilot holes through the back of the cabinet and right into the studs. This keeps the wood from splitting when you drive the screws in. Then, go ahead and drive your screws in. But, and this is important, don't tighten them all the way just yet. You want to do one last check with the level before you crank them down for good.
So where exactly do you put those screws? The rule here is super simple and super strong. You want 2 screws in the top support rail of the cabinet and 2 in the bottom rail.
And you have got to make sure every single one is going right into the center of a wall stud. This 4-point anchor system makes that cabinet unbelievably secure.
Now, a quick word of warning about that final tightening. Please do not go crazy with the drill. If you over-tighten a screw, you can actually pull the whole cabinet frame out of shape and warp it. The best way to think about it is like squeezing a sponge right in the middle. The middle part gets all compressed and the outside bulges. So you want it snug for sure, but don't overdo it.
All right, the cabinet is on the wall, it's secure, and it's perfectly level. Now we get to move on to the fun part, the finishing touches. These are the small details that really scream professional. Okay, a few key things here. If you're installing a bunch of cabinets side by side, clamp them together first. Get their faces perfectly flush for that seamless look before you screw the whole unit to the wall. Then, after you put the doors back on, you can use those tiny screws on the hinges to make little micro adjustments until all your door gaps are perfect. Oh, and if you have a little gap against a wall, that's what filler strips are for. You cut one to size and it gives you that awesome custom built-in look.
And now for what might be the single biggest pro tip of the entire explainer, the order of operations. You have to install your upper wall cabinets first. Always. Why? Because it gives you a totally clear, open space to work in. You can lift, you can maneuver, you're not leaning awkwardly over the base cabinets, risking damage to them, or even worse, to your back.
So we have gone through the entire pro process. Now, let's do a quick recap by looking at the most common beginner mistakes. That way, you can be absolutely sure to avoid them. Okay, mistake number 1, trusting that your floor or ceiling is perfectly level. Spoiler alert, it almost never is. Always use your level to draw those guidelines. Mistake number 2, skipping the studs. I can't say this enough. This is a massive safety risk. You do not want a cabinet full of plates falling off the wall. And number 3, over-tightening the screws and warping the cabinet frame. Just remember the sponge analogy. And there you have it. The secret to a truly professional installation? It isn't magic. It's just a method. It's all about that prep work, being precise, and paying attention to all those little details. So I guess the only question left is, are you ready to install like a pro?